Anything move. Anything can happen, anything go wrong. Tragedy is always there. You're not out of prison till you out.
Suge Knight once warned how deadly prison can be. Now, it's like his own words came back to haunt him. The former Death Row Records kingpin has just been stabbed in a brutal prison attack, and insiders say it's directly tied to the secrets he's been spilling. What was Suge trying to reveal, and who's trying to silence him for good? This wasn't just another inmate brawl. This was an orchestrated hit on one of hip-hop's most feared figures. Once known as the boogeyman of West Coast rap, Suge Knight built an empire out of fear, loyalty, and intimidation. But on one chilling June night, he became just another target. Reports say the lights were already off in C Block when, without warning, a masked inmate found a way into Suge's cell and launched a savage assault. To understand why this happened, you have to understand who Suge really was, on the streets, in the studio, and behind the scenes of American pop culture. He wasn't just a music executive, he was a gatekeeper to fame, power, and destruction.
There's somebody taught him that, and that's more deep in the industry. You guys who got involved with a lot of people who was their mentors, instead of having a guy to mentor your own father, they was having these guys they mentor. And when that happens in the industry, it was done to them, they do to the next person. So,
born in Compton, Suge Knight started his journey on the football field before pivoting to the streets, working muscle jobs across LA, but it was in the early 90s that he became a legend. After linking up with Dr. Dre, who had just exited Eazy-E's Ruthless Records, Suge helped create Death Row Records, an empire built on raw talent and ruthless tactics. By 1994, Death Row wasn't just successful, it was untouchable, pulling in over $100 million annually, with megastars like Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Nate Dogg, and Tha Dog Pound. Suge didn't rise by playing fair. He ruled with intimidation, power, and street code. Death Row wasn't a label, it was a kingdom. And Suge, he was the king nobody dared to cross.
one was Clive Davis. And you got to understand one thing. If Death Row, when I started Death Row, you got to remember one thing. I didn't have no co-founder, nobody else. I started that company on my own and grabbed Dr. Dre.
But the empire wouldn't last. By the 2000s, Suge's legal troubles overwhelmed him. Assault charges, parole violations, lawsuits, it all came crashing down. Then came the infamous 2015 hit and run on the Straight Outta Compton movie set, where Suge ran over two men, killing one that landed him a 28-year prison sentence at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility. Many believed this was the end of the Death Row era, but even in a cell, Suge wasn't done. In January 2024, Suge made a prison call that would shake the industry to its core. Dialing into the PBD podcast, he spoke for nearly 2 hours, and what he revealed wasn't gossip. It was a declaration of war.
Definitely gonna be the black man that holds the bag. Because you gotta realize one thing. That boy life is dangerous. His life isn't. He's just not dangerous with the shit they said he was doing, but he's in danger. He know too much.
In that now infamous phone call, Suge Knight didn't just reminisce about the old days. He made allegations so bold, so specific, that they couldn't be ignored. He said Diddy didn't become powerful on his own. He was trained, groomed, influenced by even more powerful men who remain in the shadows. Suge hinted that the same blueprint Diddy followed is the one he's now using to control others. And just when it felt like the tension couldn't go higher, Suge aimed at one of the most protected names in the business, Clive Davis.
I be having a conversation right now with the higher-ups and everybody else to figure out how it's going to work itself out, because he know all the secrets. And if he get to run his mouth, it could be a bad look.
For those in the industry, Clive Davis is not a name you throw around lightly. The legendary music executive has created stars and buried scandals for decades. But Suge claimed Clive wasn't just a record executive, he was a gatekeeper, choosing who got fame and who got sacrificed. He wasn't done. Suge claimed that the entire top tier of hip-hop was built on silence, manipulation, and a code enforced by threats and death. He even warned that Diddy himself was now in danger, not because of what he's done, but because of what he knows.
Well, I mean, that's me, I think, to them. Shit, they ain't tripping. But if you don't stop the cycle, it's going to keep happening.
Suge wasn't rambling. He was a man with insider knowledge, someone who helped cover the very secrets he was now exposing. But talking too much has consequences, and soon, it caught up to him. On a quiet night inside Cab Block Unit 5, just after 10:40 p.m., Suge's cell door stayed open longer than protocol allows. Long enough for someone to walk in face covered, hands gloved in, leave Suge badly beaten. Witnesses later said they heard dull thuds, no screams, just the sound of shattered ribs and strained breathing. It was clean, silent, professional.
You speak on Snoop. People can say, well, are you picking on Snoop? Absolutely not. Snoop is picking on Snoop. Everybody say Snoop, you had involvement in it. We're not trying to put you in prison. I don't want you to go to prison. Can't nobody put you in prison. You connected to those folks. And you Trump's little But why you just don't set the record straight?
What came next was even more suspicious. The prison phones went down for maintenance within minutes of the attack. Surveillance footage, static, guards, silent. 3 death row affiliates were moved to solitary or transferred that same night. Logs were wiped. External calls disappeared. According to a prison insider, someone pulled rank. They wanted it gone before the media even knew it happened. But the streets heard fast. By morning, word spread through West Coast prisons. The king had been touched. And with that, the entire balance of power behind bars started to shift.
It's the weirdest bit I ever met in my life. Naturally, I'm in jail. Naturally, I'm in prison. So when the corporation of the name Death Row, they didn't pay the fees to keep it going, you went and got the name and asked your boss.
What people forget is that Suge didn't just build a label, he built alliances, enemies, and decades-long feuds. Since launching his prison podcast Collect Call with Suge Knight in late 2023, he'd been naming names with no filter. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Diddy, Jimmy Iovine, no one was safe. Suge accused his former death row artists of betrayal. He claimed they rewrote history, erasing his legacy while building careers on lies. But his feud with Snoop Dogg was the most dangerous
story. Dre came to me because I'm not going to go into the situation what they was on about. It's I said, well, something like that. It's like old Hollywood. You got to get married quickly. He wanted to marry this person. That person didn't want to. I didn't get this new person. He married them. One day, Dre came to me and said, I'm never going to cuss on albums again. I'm never going to talk about women again. And he told me that he wanted to be white.
When Suge talks about Snoop, you can hear the hurt. He claims Snoop didn't just betray him, he betrayed the entire street code. Suge accused Snoop of working with law enforcement, claiming his freedom and success were bought at the cost of loyalty. According to Suge, Snoop let security get left behind, flipped the story of death row, and walked away like he never needed the crew that put him on in street terms. Suge says Snoop is connected, and that connection comes with protection and secrets.
Every time we get there, the guard calls up. He says, easy up here for Dre. Let him up. Easy at the guard. You know what's up there? He said, that's Dre. So he walks in the studio, you see me, you see 3 people. We start talking. I said, man, he ain't coming, but I'm going to talk to you about it. I showed him the pictures of all the artists I had on one piece and the 3 I had on another piece. I was like...
Then there's Dr. Dre. Suge's stories about Dre go beyond business beef. He talks about Dre's personal struggles, identity issues, and a desperate need for control. He claimed Dre leaned on him during a private breakdown, only to turn on him later. And when it came to Azia, Suge accused Dre of orchestrating a takedown, emotional, financial, and possibly even violent.
See, one of the saddest things I ever seen in a man. I'm looking at Easy, Eric, like, he said, I bought him a car, I did all this for him, it wasn't for me, he didn't do nothing. And it's like he trying to hold back the tears because he don't want to be embarrassed by you seeing him crying. Because he crying because he's scared or he crying because he hurt before another man.
According to Suge, Dre wasn't just trying to destroy Eazy's reputation, he was plotting to have him eliminated. Suge even hinted at photographic evidence that could prove the plan. If that's true, it completely rewrites the legacy of NWA and raises serious questions about the events leading to Eazy's tragic death. Suge paints Dre as the architect of a betrayal that devastated not just Eazy, but the entire West Coast movement.
That's the phone. I'm talking to him. I said, you get ready to come up here now. What you want done again? He was like, man, shoot that head, blow his head off, shoot him in the eye, take pictures of it. You don't got one of those things, you know, blah, 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 you put phone shit, you know. Get one of those portable cameras and let me see it, I want to see it, you know, blah, blah, blah.
But no secret Suge holds is more dangerous than the one tied to Tupac's murder. Everyone knows the official story. Suge and Pac left the MGM Grand after the Tyson fight and got ambushed. Pac died, Suge survived. But over the years, Suge's own words have been filled with contradictions. Sometimes he plays victim, other times he seems to know too much. And that's where things get scary, because people think Suge knows exactly who pulled the trigger.
I crushed my mother with a pen. If I would have died, I could have. So when you get people who was not there, didn't know us, and say, I grabbed Tupac and used shield, or this happened, how do you know these details, whoever you are, if you was not there?
When asked about Tupac, Suge gets defensivist. His tone shifts. He challenges critics. How do you know what happened if you weren't there? That question hides a deeper implication. He was there. And maybe he knows way more than he's saying. Suge reminds people he was the one who got Tupac out of prison. But he also reminds us he was the one who started the MGM Grand fight with Orlando Anderson, an act widely seen as the catalyst for Tupac's murder.
Eventually it cost him his life. Eventually you have guys who will speak about Tupac who never met him. They said they was with Death Row, never were there. Or they might have been security for Death Row, or the car washing Death Row. They never met Pac, and they would say they want negative things about Tupac. You have to tell Tupac.
But was it really just a gang retaliation, or something darker? Former LAPD detective Greg Kading believes Tupac's murder may have been orchestrated from within death row itself. Pac was becoming hard to control. His loyalty to Suge was fading, and with Suge drowning in debt, Pac's death could have solved a lot of problems, including triggering a massive insurance payout. That theory gained more weight after Suge's failed attempt to appeal his sentence in 2025. His financial desperation was real deadly.
About an incident with Suge and Mob James' late brother, Buntry.
Yeah.
They got into a fight, I guess, at Bar 1.
Yeah,
in Hollywood.
1. Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah.
What happened?
I was on the other side of the room, but that boy Bruce Richardson beat their ass. You know what I'm saying?
I guess he knew karate?
Yeah. Bad. He beat their ass, beat both of their ass.
Then came the nail in the coffin, Keefe D. His detailed confessions about the night Pac died and what Suge may have known shattered Suge's image as a survivor. Keefe D said Suge wasn't invincible, he was vulnerable, and the fact that Suge came out of that car alive while Tupac didn't has kept the conspiracy alive for decades. It's not just about what happened, it's about who allowed it to happen.
Speak for dead. You let a security named Kenny for dead when he got shot in the back behind you. Because the fact that the real thing is so much money was paid out of my pocket and your participation.
Suge even claimed that Snoop Dogg knows more about Tupac's murder than he's ever let on. He accused Snoop of turning his back on death row soldiers, letting security die and distancing himself from the chaos that surrounded Tupac's final days. And let's not forget Biggie. Suge has long been suspected of orchestrating Biggie's murder in retaliation for Pac's death. If true, it would make Suge responsible for the most tragic double killing in hip-hop history.
Well, one, I could know who killed Biggie, I just don't know. But the thing about this, it was a real sad day, not just for Biggie, but for his family, but for the culture of hip-hop. I think that destroyed hip-hop with those two months.
When Biggie's name comes up, Suge's emotions shift. He says he knows who did it but won't say more. Is he protecting himself or protecting others? Either way, the walls are closing in. New forensic tools, new witnesses, and an industry that's finally ready to confront its dark past. Suge has a choice: stay silent and face life in prison, or speak and risk getting silenced forever.
Man, tell your life, tell your story. It still will never be the same around Tupac and Biggie. And I'm going to end it here because I knew Pac and Biggie loved each other. When I was in the hotel, Pac in the hotel, and he talking to Biggie before Pac passed away, he wasn't mad at Biggie like, I hate this motherfucker. He was more hurt because he felt that Biggie had something to do with the shit in the studio.
So now the question isn't just what Suge Knight knows, it's how long he'll live to say it. Every podcast, every name drop, every phone call is a risk. In an industry built on silence, Suge's voice is still shaking the game. Whether he's telling the full truth or playing a twisted power game, one thing is clear: Suge Knight still holds power, and that power might be the very thing that gets him taken out for good.